Thank you, Alice, and thank you, Congressman. Our keynote speaker tonight, Tom McDevitt, is chairman of the Washington Times and the company's board of directors. He became president of the Washington Times in March of 2007, and he held that position through October 2012. During that time, Tom, as Chief Executive Officer, was responsible for all aspects of the news and information for the company. He led the Times through an intensive period of strategic turnaround, national market alignment, and product line expansion, reaching more than 10 million readers within the United States. It is a great pleasure, and please welcome Tom McDevitt.
Thank you very much, Laura. Alice, you left Mr. Trump up here. I'm going to put him very carefully by the cape. He can watch over. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me in the back? How's this, right here? I am going to give one of the shortest keynote speeches ever, because I know there are other very important people that want to say words, and I am humbled to be called upon. The first thing I want to do is plant the word gratitude in your hearts and mine. That's what I've been feeling ever since November 8th. Haven't you felt that? Something special happened in America. And I dare say it's beyond politics. It's beyond voting. It's beyond people. There's a transcendent energy that occurred, and it's good that we get rooted in thinking that our forefathers and foremothers built the foundation of our republic on. And so I want to lift up one sentence from the Old Testament, from the book of Esther. This is not a sermon, it's just a thought. Thank you, Lon Solomon. From Esther 4:14. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. I think that's the time we're in. Somehow, the forces align, and America has another chance. We were on the precipice of a very dark path. It was more than 150 years ago that President Abraham Lincoln faced the division of our country far more severe than we're facing today. And in his first inaugural address, 3 weeks after the Confederacy had seceded, he said, "We're not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection." The country was ready to split apart. It did split apart. He goes on, "The mystic chords of memory stretching from every battlefield and patriot grave to every living heart and hearthstone all over the broad land will yet swell the chorus of the Union when again touched, as surely they will be, by the better angels of our nature." And in his second inaugural address, 4 years later, "With malice towards none and charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on," and these are words for us today, tonight, and for the next 4 years. "Let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who should have borne the battle, for his widow and his orphan." And when Ronald Reagan, and I'm coming to the final point I want to make, Ronald Reagan gave a farewell address in January of 1989. I think many of you feel in your hearts that we're living in a time not unlike that transitional moment when Jimmy Carter ceased to be the president and Ronald Reagan became the 40th president of the United States. And the president said when he left Washington, "I've spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds, living in harmony and peace. A city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity, and if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a momentous time. A great transition has occurred, largely because of the work of people like you. But now the job begins again. Not just for 4 years or 2 years or even next year in 2017 when the Commonwealth of Virginia will elect a new governor and legislature. Very important work to be done. But for the sake of the long term, for the future generations, what kind of culture will we leave our people? What kind of culture will we leave our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren? It goes deeper than politics. It's a matter of the human heart, the hearts and mind, and the transformation of culture. And I'm going to yield 2 or 3 minutes of the time Alice gave me to a great dear friend, Nancy Schultz, whose wife Dick Schultz was introduced, member of Congress. He's the one that made Valley Forge a national park. And Nancy Schultz heads the Republican congressional Republican wives, and led Women for Trump on the East Coast. And I'm going to invite her up here to close out this double-team keynote. So let's welcome Nancy Schultz to say a few words. Thank you very much, everybody.
I noticed when you all were saying the Pledge of Allegiance tonight that you really, there was an emphasis on under God. I want to say just a word about the most unusual election night I've ever had. Now, I knew of a group of people throughout the country who had fasted and prayed for 3 days from all food and all water for the election. Tom alluded to Esther. They went on an Esther fast, no food, no water, for 3 days. A lot of people in this country did that. And I just happened to be on a prayer call on election eve, a 5-hour prayer call that started at 9 o'clock and didn't end until 2 o'clock in the morning. And we're praying along and praying along and praying along, knowing full well that it was going to take a miracle of God. And about a couple of hours into it, this pastor called from Broward County, Florida, and said, "You all need to pray for Broward County. The chief of elections, who is a way left liberal, has demanded a recount, and we need to pray." We prayed. Everybody went, we prayed. They dropped the recount. Yay. And a little while later, there was a call from Pennsylvania. You need to drop everything you're praying about right now and pray for Pennsylvania. So we did. Pennsylvania turned around. What I'm saying here is that without the mercy and the hand of God, we wouldn't be celebrating tonight. We cannot let down for 1 single second, Republicans. We cannot let go. We can't let down. I was the director of celebrities for Bob Dole's campaign for president. And I want to tell you about a little story that happened to me. I was responsible, Elizabeth Dole gave me absolute carte blanche for 5 A-list Republicans who were identified as 5 A-list movie stars who were identified as Republicans. Well, I couldn't get through to them in Hollywood because of all the liberal managers and gatekeepers in Hollywood. I finally had a conversation with a fellow who was an executive with William Morris, the largest talent agency in the world. And he said, "You really want to know what's going on?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "You know, Nashville, the artists from Nashville have come out, golfers have come out, the football players even came out. During Las Vegas came out. But we could not get through the gatekeepers in Hollywood." And what this man said to me, I pass on to you. He said, "Do you really want to know what's wrong?" And I said, "Absolutely." He said, "The Democrats are in this town every other week, whining and dining and schmoozing, building relationships. And you Republicans, you come in every 4 years and you snap your fingers and just expect everybody to snap too. It doesn't work like that, honey." So I leave that with you. We cannot let up. 52% of this country voted for Hillary Clinton. We've got a lot of work to do. Don't let up. Not for a second. We've got a country to save. We owe it to our country, but more so, we owe it to our God, who has had mercy upon us. Thank you very much.
Okay, I would like to introduce our next speaker, and I would please ask everyone for 2 reasons. One, out of courtesy to the speaker, to please remain quiet, and 2, because what he has to say will be very good and very interesting. His name is Admiral Don Loren, retired from the U.S. Navy, and he was the former Assistant Secretary of Defense. He has a very impressive long resume, but I am not going to read it tonight. I would prefer, because then the conversation will start and you'll all go to sleep, or you'll all be in the middle of this great conversation, and I really do want you to listen to him because he was a wonderful speaker. So without further ado, Admiral Loren, would you please come up.
Well, good evening, everybody. I haven't been in a room with this many deplorable people since my in-laws came to our wedding. Only kidding, sweetheart. I certainly appreciate all that you have done, and certainly understand firsthand all that Virginia Women for Trump can do. Because even though Laura introduced my wife as the lovely Mrs. Loren, she didn't introduce her as Lieutenant Colonel Maureen Loren, United States Marine Corps, retired. And I understand firsthand that when a woman puts her mind to something, there is no stopping her. So I would think, as we just heard, certainly God gets first credit, as always, but you women of Virginia get second credit for our wonderful election victory. I think you know that I, along with Mike Flynn, Keith Kellogg, Burt Mississauga, were one of the initial deplorable admirals and generals for Trump. I've been asked to speak with you this evening about national security aspects of our candidate, our president-elect, and our party's victory. For those of you that heard my brief remarks at the Trump rally at the Trump International Hotel on the 16th of September, I promise to not be repetitive. Now, to be upfront, while myself a political appointee in the George W. Bush administration, I'm really not a political animal. But I am here as someone who has spent 32 years wearing the cloth of the nation and a total of 40 years dealing with national security, homeland security, and intelligence issues. Now let's look around the room here. We all have something in common. Yes, we're all intelligent, articulate, and undeniably good looking. But that's not it. We're all here because we believe in our hearts that America has been in trouble for the last 8 years. We all agree that we cannot continue in the direction we have been headed in the last 8 years. And that Donald Trump will get us back on track. So let's talk about two components of the dilemma that we had found ourselves as a nation in: national security and veterans issues, both very much related. How many of you have read or are familiar with the national security strategy of the United States? The last version of which was signed out in February 2015. The version prior to that was written in 2010. National security is not military strategy. It is not defense strategy. Military, intelligence, economic, cyber, energy, immigration, diplomatic, development, scientific, education components make up our national security strategy. So to understand where we are today, you have to ask, where do we stand in each of these important components of our national strategy? You have to ask, why are we saddled with sequestration? Or what is the effect of our current trend in military downsizing? Why have gender and sexuality issues supplanted military planning and readiness? Is climate change really driving military thought? What is the impact of our failed diplomatic relationship on our national security? What about open borders and unvetted refugees? Or the failure to use development funding logically in order to bolster our friends, our allies, and our national security? Have we dismantled our intelligence structure? What is the impact of the lines drawn in the sand that are not backed up with action? Why do we telegraph tactical, operational, and strategic plans to our enemies? Have we entered into treaties and agreements that do not place the United States of America as the #1 concern in those agreements? What is the impact of almost $20 trillion in national debt on our security and our prosperity? But by your perseverance, your grassroots response, your dedication to America, and your dedication to our values as a people, you have taken the first steps toward correcting this by electing Donald Trump as our 45th President of the United States. We will do better. We will restore American strength and prosperity and dignity. This is how the Trump team will do better. Peace through strength will be the centerpiece of the Trump foreign policy doctrine. We will promote America's national security, regional stability, and we will show our strength to our allies and our enemies. We will recapitalize our military. We will improve cyber capabilities, and we will enhance our intelligence services. We will make alliances and coalitions strong by our membership and our allies' participation and contribution. We will defeat ISIS and radical Islamic terrorism. We will assist refugees, but not by admitting unvetted, unknown, potentially dangerous refugees to our shores. We will work with Congress to repeal sequestration. We will submit budgets that rebuild our military as well as our economy. We will invest in missile defense, our Navy's size, our Army's strength, and our Air Force's size and age. We will promote sound energy policies and investment that make us energy independent, energy abundant, and an energy resource for our allies and our partners. We will create jobs through sound economic policy, energy development, military and infrastructure development, and putting our veterans across the nation back to work. We will enforce our immigration laws and keep America's boundaries safe by encouraging and assisting and supporting those who choose to come to our country, become a part of what make America such a great and wonderful and unique experience, and who, like all of us who have served the nation or have been naturalized, are willing to dedicate themselves to the laws and the Constitution of our country. And finally, and extremely important to me, we will take care of our veterans. Those who have worn the cloth of the nation, those who have sacrificed life and limb in battle or in service, and their families. For as George Washington said, we can never rally young Americans to defend the nation if they perceive that we do not care for those who have made the sacrifice before them. And that leaves veterans' employment. Not only will we correct our veteran unemployment problems, but we must, as a nation, capitalize on this tremendous source of skilled, disciplined, and proven young American men and women. So you can all see, national security is multifaceted. It's complex. It's a huge entity. You can all agree that the current administration has done an abysmal job over the past 8 years of addressing all of the elements of our national security. That's not my opinion. That's well-documented fact. It's fact attested to by the current state of world affairs and how little America is respected by the rest of the world. Donald Trump has spoken of this many times. He has crafted policies that will address and correct this sorry state of affairs. And he will gather highly qualified, experienced, proven men and women to carry out these policies. And he will work with Congress and the American people to make us prosperous, make us respected, make us strong, and to make America great again. God bless all of you who have participated in this great victory for our party, but more importantly, for America. God bless our president-elect and those who will bear the mantle of leading our great nation. And may God always continue to bless our United States of America. Thank you. talking about you kids, okay?
And when we talk about national security and our veterans and those who have sacrificed, I have someone very special to introduce to you right now. Come over here, Marcus. I met Marcus when Homes for Our Heroes were building a house for him. And my husband and I went out to help with the landscaping. Marcus, as you can see, lost both of his legs in Afghanistan. And like so many veterans, they are not full of self-pity. They are proud that they took part in, yes, making America great again. And Marcus is really special. He is a single parent of 3 little children. 8, 6, and 4? 3, 5, and 7. And the little one has him wrapped right around her little finger. So if there are he lives in Haymarket. If any of you here would want to get on a volunteer list to babysit for him so that he could have a night out like tonight, contact me. That would be great. We want to do something like that for him. But mostly, I want to say thank you, Marcus. Thank you, and God bless you. And we know that God has plans for you too.
Thank you. I didn't know I was coming up here tonight until just a second ago, but yeah, Alice has been a great help to me personally, and like others have said, she's made waves across the world.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you again, Marcus. We love you. We're always here for you. And we have a lot of veterans here tonight. So if all the veterans in the house would stand, we'd like to acknowledge you too. You see, that's what makes America great. Our people, the people who have a love of country. Patriotism has become like a dirty word, but not anymore. Not with President Trump. And I hope they start teaching it in the schools again. Because I'm here tonight and many are here. I could list the different nationalities, the immigrants who are here tonight, probably 30 to 50% from all corners of the world. And we are all Americans. We are all very, very proud Americans. And now I have another special person to introduce to you. So Corey Stewart, would you come up? I got to tell us some stories about you. Come here. Okay, the formality is that Corey is the chairman at large of the Prince William Board of Supervisors, right? And he's an international lawyer. He has a beautiful Swedish wife, another immigrant, and he has 2 boys, and he is running for governor of Virginia. Corey started hanging with me. And he got fired as chairman of the Trump campaign.
All your fault.
All my fault, right? So anyway, I must tell you the story of that day. The night before, Corey called me, and it was just after that video had come out with those sort of rude words that our president-elect had said way back somewhere to somebody. And Corey said, well, you know, it really would be great to hold a rally and show the support of the women. It was about 10 o'clock at night. I said, oh yeah, sure. So I got on the phone, and the next day, all us deplorable, irredeemable, deplorables, dangerous-looking people went down there. And Laura, stand up. I want to see how dangerous you look. Okay. Michelle, where are you? You look really dangerous too. So we stood down there, you know, saying we were for Trump, rah, rah, rah. We were having a happy old time. And I had been speaking to the Hanover Women, Republican Women's Club, and they gave me this. I was just using it as a prop, you know, I don't even know how the thing works, but I had it in my hand, and, you know, then somebody said later, I screamed at them through a megaphone. So we had a really happy old time, and then someone came running up saying, shut it down, and we thought, who on earth is this? So we weren't going to have any of that. So the result is, Corey got fired.
I'm glad you can laugh about it.
But Corey, I want to say Corey is the greatest. From day one, we were together traveling the state, talking, and the people were just, it was incredible the response that we were getting all over the state for Mr. Trump. And he was tireless. He was traveling long distances, and then after that fateful day when those dangerous women, quote unquote, demonstrated, he kept going. He didn't stop. We didn't stop. He kept going to the very last day, campaigning and advocating for Mr. Trump. And now we have President-elect Trump. So I am very happy to introduce to you this man who came out fearlessly early on. And here you go, Corey.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you. I'm going to follow that up. But I will say this. I have never met anybody as tough as Alice Butler Short. You know, we were at the national convention together, and Maria and I were walking up, and there was this gurney that was being rushed by. And the only thing I saw at the end was this really obnoxious shoe. And I'm like, and Maria looked at it and she goes, that's Alice. And it was. We went all the way, we followed the paramedics down to the emergency, the temporary emergency facilities they had there. We go in there, and they said, what happened? And there was some other, Brian Landrum was there, and she goes, you won't believe it, you won't believe it. She fell down an entire flight of concrete steps in Cleveland. I mean, like 6 feet down. It was, you know, I'm like, oh, Lord have mercy. Anyway, so there are the doctors, they said, oh, she injured her shoulder, and she hit her head, and all this other stuff. So we were really, really, really concerned, and that morning, we got a text from Ellis. She did a selfie from the hospital in a wheelchair saying, holding a Trump sign. That's no kidding, with a cast on her arm, by the way. So we've had a great time. We've had a really great time. One of the things that we saw a lot of all across the Commonwealth of Virginia, people praying for Donald Trump. And the one thing, and it does prove that God truly does have a sense of humor. Because never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that the good Lord would answer those prayers with Anthony Weiner's computer. So, We won a battle. We did win a battle. But we have not won the war. And with all those veterans and the admiral here and all this military talent, you know that you can lose a battle and you can win a war. But the converse is true too. You can win a battle and you can lose a war. And just because we won a battle on November 8th, don't think for 1 second that the Democrats, that the liberals, and even, yes, some within our own party are prepared to cede the control of the levers of our government, back to the people. Because the establishment on the Democratic side is very, very similar to the establishment on the Republican side.